you have to learn the different functions, like functions of operating system or the services which is provided by the operating system. User interface, program, execution of the program, protection, security, providing security, detecting of errors, file manipulation, IO devices, and also like if you want to allocate some resources and resource allocation, the logging. These are the different functions of operating system. You have to understand each function clearly. User interface means what? The operating system would provide an interface for the user to interact with the system. In order to interact with the system, there would be different kind of interface which is provided by the operating system, like command line arguments, graphical user interface, the touch based interface. So these are the different interface which is provided by the operating system in order to interact with the system. Okay. Next is program execution. Program execution means you have to load the program. OS can load program into the memory and execute them. It can handle both normal and abnormal termination of programs. You have to understand that. We have already discussed it earlier also. To make execution of program easier, we need this environment, operating system environment there, right? So it can also load this program into the memory, as well as you can do normal as well as abnormal termination of programs also. Now IO operation means what? The OS manages all the input output operations involving files or devices, so programs don't need to handle hardware directly. Now OS can manage both input and output, right? Input or output operations involving files or devices. So you have to understand that OS can manage all these input and output devices operations and all. So that means, so since OS is managing all the input and output operation, programs doesn't want it to handle the hardware directly. The programs can indirectly, with the help of OS, it can handle all this hardware. Okay. Now file system manipulation means the OS allows program to create, delete, read and write the files and directory, and it also manages the file permissions. File system manipulation means through files what are the operation it can do, that is it can do read, delete, write, create the files and directories, right? And also there are different file permissions. We are giving the file the permission to read, or if you want to edit you can write, such permissions. These are all managed by the operating system. So the operating system allows this program to create, delete, write, read files and directories. Understood? Now communication means two computers or two process within a computer, or processes between a computer as well as other computers which are connected through this network can communicate with each other, can exchange information using the shared memory. Okay. Either it can happen that message sharing, exchanging informations and all can happen through within the same computer itself, processes within the same computer itself, or process between two different computers. Let's say these two computers are connected through the network. Understood? Now error detection. Error detection means OS would constantly monitor our CPU, memory, IO devices and all for error, and they will take appropriate measures or actions to ensure the correct computing. In order to ensure correct computing, it will take appropriate actions also. That is what error detection means. Resource allocation means when multiple programs and are running simultaneously, each of them need these resources like CPU, memory and IO devices. So allocating, so OS does this allocation of this fairly to each of these programs, right? Logging means OS keep tracks of the users, track of which users use which resources and how much useful for monitoring and billing. Now OS can keep track of which users is using what, right? Which resources that users are using and how much resources it is using, mainly used for billing and monitoring purpose. That is what logging does. So OS can keep track of all of these users, right? I can say you can keep track of which user is coming, which user which uses which resources and how much it uses, all these things. Understood? Now protection and security. Protection and security means what? Protection and security means OS would ensure that all access to the resources are basically controlled. It uses authentication to keep unauthorized users out. Now whenever unauthorized users and all come, we have to keep track of this, you can say we have to understand that the OS would keep what? OS would keep track of all of this unauthorized access and all. Okay, so whoever user comes, it has to, authentication is done there. Okay, so protection and security means OS ensures all the access to the resources is controlled, happening in a controlled way, that it uses authentication to keep track into what? Authentication. Why? To keep unauthorized users out. We don't need users which is not required in our system, so that is why we are using user authentication. Okay, so it is basically ensuring that the all the access to the resources is controlled. Understood? So these are the different functions. There is user interface was our first function, then program execution, then IO operations, right, then file system manipulations, the logging purpose, right, protection and security, resource allocation, communication, right. So these are the different functions of operating system that you have to understand. Fine. So there is a detailed explanation to each of this operating system services, like user interface is given here, program execution, IO operations and all are given here.